No, you are still here. I can see that you are in the show. You're just pressing buttons and don't know what you're pressing.
That sounds like you.
Yeah,
T-
so
Tony, you press buttons all the time.
I, I do press buttons. One time I was dating this woman and I was at her house and I saw this cord, like an electric cord, and it was just laying on the floor. And
You
at
don't
the
like to
end,
see cords.
yeah, but at the end of the cord, there was a button at the end of the cord. I'm like, what the heck? What the heck is this? Let me press the button. And I pressed the button. I pressed the button, and nothing happened. So the button
I hope this
was
doesn't
in
go where I
her.
think it
The button
is.
was in her bedroom, right? And she was in the kitchen, doing something, right? And I said, "Hey, what's that button in your bedroom? You know that cord with a button on the end of it." She said, "You didn't press it, did you?" I said, "Yeah, I pressed. I pressed it a whole bunch of times, and nothing happened." And as soon as I said nothing happened, that's when the door knock, 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 knock. It's the police. She's like, that's the panic button. You know, all the apartments have them, a panic button, and the police will come. So yeah, it was the police, and it was hard for me not to get arrested. So I
But you
don't
didn't learn your
press.
lesson because you
I
do press
don't.
buttons all the time. You're like, oh, what does this do? What does this do? You press buttons all the time. And you even
I
take my phone
don't.
sometimes and you say, which scares
I
the
don't.
daylights out of me because I don't know what you're doing.
I don't press buttons that I don't know what they are in
That is
someone
not,
else's house. So I learned my lesson. I don't do
but
that in
you still
someone
do it to my
else's.
stuff.
That's your phone. What's going to happen?
Things can happen. That's why I don't let
What's
you touch
gonna
my laptops
what's
because
gonna ha-
they're
what's
like,
gonna what's gonna
I just
happen?
deleted your whole manuscript. I
Look,
just did.
I know how a lot of stuff works because I press buttons. What's this do? What's that do? What's this do?
See, you
What's
didn't learn
that
your
do?
lesson. Clearly, you did not
I
learn your
did learn
lesson.
my lesson because I
Charlie
don't.
says, press, 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 press.
Yeah, I don't press buttons in someone else's house. Case
I
in
don't think that's
case
true.
in case in point, we all had an issue on Fireside with our screens just going black during our shows, and it wasn't supposed to do that.
That's true. It did happen to
And
me when I was
it was happening to
hosting my
you, and
show.
it was happening to Really Charlie. And I sent Really Charlie a text. I said, "Hey, I don't know why it's doing it. It's not doing it on my phone, and I have a later model iPhone." I said, "But I will figure out how to take care of this for you and Jill." So
You did
I
press a bunch of
I
buttons and
got
you
the
did figure
phone
it
and I
out.
start pressing buttons, and then I figured out, and I was able to send him a text, do this, 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 and this, and I did yours, and you're
Well,
still
that was one that had a
working on
happy
fine.
ending, but
Yeah,
sometimes you'll press buttons on my things and you'll
you'll
say, "Uh-oh."
you'll either fix it or break it, and fortunately, most of the time I fix it. So it's all
That's a
good.
whole other show.
But I know how to fix a lot of stuff
You
now,
do.
you know?
You do. I'll give you that. I'll give
And
you
it's not
that.
just pressing buttons, it's just
So
figure
to get
out
back on topic with scammers, we talked
scammers.
about people who have been scammed, and you were saying that some of them get scammed more than once. So what does it take? Does it is it hard for you to trust people that you first meet?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Like, are you asking me that question, or is that a
I'm
general
asking you
question?
first. Like,
Well,
well, but is it hard for you to try? Because I
well,
sometimes think that the people who don't ever get scammed don't trust anybody. Like, it's hard for them to trust people.
No, even people like that can get scammed.
True.
And usually
I'm not saying that we're all above that. We're not.
well,
And like I said, I have definitely been deceived.
yes. Well, now if you grew up in a major city that had high crime in it,
Which I
okay?
did not.
But I was, and let's say really Charlie was. And then later, when he grew up, he became an officer. Okay. Um,
He's calling you Mr. Fix It Man.
yeah, I actually am. I had a handyman business. I just didn't like it, so I quit.
Well, I had to remind you that you didn't like it. But anyway, you were saying.
So when you grow up in a major city, a high crime city, you learn about scams very early. So not only from your parents, but from your friends. Now, if you grew up in a neighborhood where many of your friends were thieves and scam artists and all of that, then you learn even
Yes,
more.
because you learn how they do it.
Right.
Mhm.
So if you grow up in that type of environment, what people do to pass the time is practice a scam.
What do you mean practice?
Well, you practice a scam.
What do you mean
Well,
practice?
let's say let's say like breaking in a car or stealing a car. Okay?
But is it practice,
Or
or are they actually breaking in or stealing a car?
or cracking a safe.
Is it practice, or are they actually
Or
cracking a safe?
or picking a lock.
You know people who know how to crack a safe?
I've cracked a safe before. But just for practice. Just
Practice for what?
Just to kill the time.
But practice to do what?
You hanging out with your friends. Hey, let's see. And somebody might have a safe in their house. Hey, let's see if we can crack this safe.
Did you take the content of the
Oh,
contents of
absolutely
the safe?
not.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Absolutely not. Or like pickpocketing. Let's practice being a pickpocket. So
But why?
that's so they could pick somebody's pocket.
So you're practicing for the real thing.
But I didn't, but I practiced with them.
But when you practice, aren't you pickpocketing somebody?
No, we practiced on each other.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha. But how does that work if you know that that's what's happening? How is
If-
someone able to pickpocket you if you know that they're going to pickpocket
Then
you?
you say whether you felt it or not.
Okay.
So if somebody comes, they're gonna pickpocket you, and you say, "Oh, I felt that," and then they'll tweak it. And I still felt it. Then they'll tweak
I'm
it.
learning so much
I
about
did-
you tonight.
I didn't feel that one. One time
I've never played those little games.
So, but I was the good kid. Everybody knew the Cordovas were the good kids, right?
Mhm.
So, one night, we're all sitting out on the curb in my neighborhood, and we're all just sitting there, just talking. Summer night, just talking. And this car, and it was like there was 4 of us, maybe 5 of us, sitting on the curb. And one of our friends pulls up, and the windows are rolled down because they didn't have any air conditioning in their car. And a lot of cars didn't have air conditioning back then in New York. And he rolls up in this car, and he stops, and he yells out the window, "Hey, a car just broke down on the Southern State Parkway." Next thing I know, I was the only one sitting on the curb.
Because everyone went to.
Everybody got up, got in the car, and they went there to strip the car. Okay. But then, I used to practice stripping cars with them.
Charlie wants to know if you have mafia ties.
No comment.
In the world of journalism, no comment is a comment, right?
No comment. Well, here's the deal. In New York, you always was going to know somebody in the mafia. You always did.
I knew some people in the mafia when I worked at MSNBC and was in that area. I knew them.
Yeah. You're always going to know somebody that's in the mafia, or their parents are in the mafia, or a lot of stuff. You couldn't even do business in certain places without having connection to the mafia. So, everybody had some type of connection somehow to somebody in the mafia. And quite often it wouldn't be people you would expect.
So back to my question.
What's the question?
Trust. Easy, difficult?
Oh, yeah. I never did answer that question.
You did not.
In New York, no, you do not trust anyone initially. And that's why what you looking at? Like if someone walks up to you and that you don't know in New York and says, "Hi, how you doing?" What you want? What you looking at? Don't be looking at me. Man, I'll kick your ass. You don't be looking at me. Say it's time to fight. Because they're looking at you because you think they're going to try to do something to you. They're going to try to run a scam on you. They're going to try to rob you. They're going to try to do something, or somebody else is doing something while they're trying to distract you. Now, here's the problem with people that live in that environment. They begin to not know the difference between what is good and what is bad. So, everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, many of the people in New York, it was a common thing to buy something that you knew was stolen. And then you would bargain on that. Because if you knew it was stolen, you had to pay at least 50% off cost. Okay? So, but here's where the problem comes in. People that buy hot stuff off the street often get ripped off.
Well, that's true. That's true. I remember one time, actually, when I
bought a box of rocks.
One time when I was at MSNBC, I was actually leaving MSNBC. I put it in my notice and everything, but they sent me to work out of the DC bureau. My last 6 weeks I was there. So in doing so, I stayed at this really ritzy hotel. They put me up there. But the first time I got there, by the time I got there, my luggage was just like all falling apart. Like it was almost like someone had just ripped it,
Mhm.
And so a man that worked at the hotel, helped me, when I arrived, and put it on the cart and and send it to my room. And he's like, I don't know how you're gonna get back to wherever you came from with luggage like this.
Your luggage is
Yeah,
done.
you're right. And I said, yeah, it's like I don't know when I'm gonna have time to go look for another piece of luggage while I'm here, and because I was going back and forth, on
You
the
were
weekends.
busy.
I was busy.
Yeah.
So, but also flying back and forth,
Yeah, don't hit me.
to home. I'm
Don't
not
hit
gonna
me. It
hit
was-
you.
it was like
I was
pop,
like
pop,
this.
pop, pop,
I wasn't
pop.
near you. I was I am
I'd have
accident
been
prone
like,
though,
you
so
saw
I
it
could
here.
have.
Pop, 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 pop.
I might have
Yeah.
done that. So, so when we had this conversation, I gave him a tip. He left, and I got comfortable in my room. And then there's a little while later, it was like, I don't know, 30 minutes later, not even an hour. Knock, knock, knock on my door. And I'm looking, I look out the peephole. Well, I have to like tiptoe because they had really high
Jump,
peepholes.
jump,
Um,
jump, jump.
and so it was the same man, and so I opened. I was like, "Is something wrong?" And he goes, "You have a choice." And he had like three luggage
The
there,
three different pieces of
three different
luggage.
pieces of luggage, and I was like, "Is this your lost and found?" He goes, "Yeah, that's what we'll say. That is what we'll say." And and he just gave me one of them.
That was nice.
That was nice. So I was just like, so I told one of my friends that worked out of the bureau, and she goes, "Oh my God, please don't tell me stories like that again. Please don't tell me stories like that again."
Did the luggage have anyone's name on it?
Nope.
Okay, well, they cleaned it. It was good. It's untraceable.
It was.
It won't come back
I don't
to
know
you.
where it came from. I did not ask questions, but I was grateful, and he didn't make me pay for it. I was grateful.
That was very nice.
So all I know was
the
it did
luggage
not
from the
come
lost
from
and found.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, where I lived, if you needed tires,
Charlie was pressing buttons like you, and he accidentally exited the show, but he's back. Put on your vehicle?
no,
Oh.
the tires just show up, or you'll have to meet someone somewhere to get the tires. So you could
At 4:00 in the morning?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, around 4 o'clock. Yeah, you put your 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning is the time, and that's because that's when the drug addicts are really joning. If they hadn't got their hit by then, if by then they're really, really desperate, and you put that order in, and they'll get what you need. But that's part of life. But it's so bad that show's almost over, y'all. Cause just like
I'm
just
pointing
done.
now.
Anyway, so it's so bad that your mind doesn't know that stealing is wrong anymore. And so like when something would get stolen from me, I wouldn't be angry. I would be angry at myself because I didn't chain it good enough. I didn't lock it good enough. I knew better than to park there. I didn't, you blame yourself because you know all the ways that you can get ripped off or something stolen. People still leave their keys in the car or in the visor, right? And then
don't
and their
understand that.
doors unlocked, and then they'll say, "I don't understand why my car got stolen. The door was closed, but the keys were in it."
Constantly in local news, they have to remind people to lock their
Lock-
doors or
lock
not
your
put
car, lock your
valuables
car.
in sight and things like
Lock
that.
your car.
But I did not grow up. Everybody knows I grew up in a national park, so we didn't.
Mhm.
I didn't have the same crime-ridden area that you grew up in.
Time's up.
But
Time's up. Show's over. Time's up. We don't.
But my spidey senses were always heightened around people. Like I've never had trust issues, but
Okay.
but my spidey senses were always
So
heightened.
that's good. That's good.
Now you can end the show.
Yeah. Do you think that being a journalist and being around news all the time kind of,
Well, in Journalism 101, they teach you things that people do when they're not telling you the truth. Just from looking at them, there are many signs. My students used to try to get me to tell them what those signs were so that they wouldn't do it. But I would never tell them. And I always knew when they were lying to
Yeah,
me.
that's
I
right.
always knew.
All right. Well, we've been here for an hour. We have been here for an hour. This is the wrong pad here. What's going on? There we go. So, yeah, we're going to start ending this show, but I think we have a short announcement.
We do. The number two,
letter B.com.
still.com.
Yeah, no2bestill.com. I left the still
You
out.
left the still out.
Oh, yeah.
And mine is
no2bestill.com.
stillcoxcordova.com. So,
Yeah.
But that's in the fortune cookie. You can find us.
And we'll talk to you about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll be here next week. Maybe we won't.
That is true. That is
We
true.
do have
That
a
is true.
schedule.
That's
We
true.
do have
That
a
is
schedule,
true.
but we don't know.
Oh,
We'll
guess
see.
no show this week, chill. But it's okay. It's okay.
It's all good.
All is good. All is good. All is good. And as usual, we really do love you all.
We do. We love you.
Doing this show. We love being here on Fireside. And we'll do it as long as we can. Yes, we will. Anything else we have to add?
That's it.
That's it. That's
Love
it.
you all.
Love you all.